Meeting's officially called to order. Can I ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Thank you, and good evening, everyone. Council, review and approval of agenda. Any questions, changes?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion and second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Public comments. Is there anyone here that wishes to address the council on any subject that is not on the agenda? We will move on then. Consent agenda, council. Any questions?
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a correction on page 3, about the fourth paragraph down on recycling. Mark had pointed out. I'm sorry, that should say Councilmember Peterson, not Peter.
Duly noted.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the corrected consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Roundtable, time for the Economic Development Annual Report. Mr. Wheeler and Mr. Gear, not you, the big boss, huh? Well, it's good to have you both here today. Thank you.
As Jared did not come on until November, I thought you should probably hear from the person who was leading it last year, and he will get to do this next year for all of you. Good evening, council members and mayor. I actually want to say thank you to Corey for remembering to make sure that we were here in front of you guys doing this report, because sometimes that can get away from us. It is our duty every year to present to you what Thrive has been working on your behalf with economic development, and so that is what I'm here to do with you tonight. I know you received this in your packets, but I am going to go through a lot of it with you tonight. There are a few things I won't go over. We'll skip over some things that aren't as pertainable to Iola, but it's going to take a few minutes, so bear with me. And also, if you have questions throughout it, please feel free to ask them while I'm giving the report, or you can save them for after. Either way works. So I want to start with just a little history, because I know we have a couple of new council members with us, and then for anyone who's listening, I think it's always helpful. So Thrive Allen County provides economic development services to Allen County and its communities through funding that's provided by Allen County, the cities of Iola and Humboldt, and Iola Industries. And as part of this agreement, we have three main components that we follow. One is that we have an economic development advisory committee that guides our work and acts as a sounding board for our ideas and proposals. And that committee contains 2 appointees from each funding organization. And in 2023, those appointees were Bruce Symes and Savannah Flory for the county, Matt and Corey for Iola, Jerry Dreer and John Masterson for Iola Industries, and Cole Herder for Humboldt. Participation among our contract members has changed over time. The effort was originally funded at $45,000 in 2013 through the City of Iola, Iola Industries, and Allen County. From 2014 through 2019, the contract was at $60,000. Split evenly between each entity. And in 2021, the city of Humboldt joined the collaboration at $10,000, bringing the contract to $70,000. And in 2023, changes were made to the funding structure, with Iola providing $50,000, Allen County providing $30,000, Iola Industries at $20,000, and Humboldt contributing $17,000 to the program. In all, this $117,000 funds all of our economic development in Allen County, including our director's salary and benefits, and then the remaining of that is used for a number of things: professional development, our economic development grant writer, travel, and other resources that we can use to grow Allen County's economy. So countywide efforts are at the base of what we do as well, and so we have advisory committee members that cover 3 communities across the county: Humboldt, Iola, and La Harpe. And we continue to develop relationships with additional county communities, Allen County communities, with the hope that they also, at some point, will join us in funding economic development in the future. Thrive staff produces a monthly economic development report, an activity report that details the work that we are doing in recruiting economic development prospects and retaining and expanding existing businesses. This report also has included employment trends, economic conditions, and other general information. Elected officials can receive these reports upon request to Thrive or through your representatives on the Economic Development Advisory Committee, but we really want to remind you all that these reports are strictly confidential. We don't want a lot of that information getting out. Often if things get out ahead of time, it kills the projects we're working on, and so we always want to highlight that. One of the things I really like to highlight about Thrive's work, because I do think it can get confusing to people, is that outside of this public-private funding that we receive for our economic development work, our organization relies almost exclusively on grant dollars from private, state, and federal sources, as well as donations and sponsorships that make up our other revenue sources. As you guys can see, we try and be really transparent on where our funding is and what we've gone after and what we've received and what we have not. And so I gave you guys a graph from 2020 to 2023, or excuse me, a table that highlights the amount of grants we've applied for, what we've been awarded. For Thrive, as an example, I'll give you 2020. We went after 52 grants. We received 23 of them. In 2023, we went after 58. We received 25, although we're still waiting to hear back on a few of them. That puts our success rate at 43%. The average grant writer is typically around 15%. So the team really goes after things that they think we can be successful at. We went after about $15.5 million of funding, and we brought in just under 5. The thing that I'm always most proud of, though, is the community grants. So these are grants that we go after, not for Thrive. They don't come into Thrive. We write them for our governmental entities. We write them for local nonprofits. And so in 2020, we wrote 15, received 5. In 2023, we wrote 16, received 8. And we went after 16.3 million, and we were able to bring in 7.3 million into our community that otherwise would not be here. And that will always be one of the things I'm most proud of, is our team working with our local governments and elected officials, as well as small nonprofit organizations, to bring in additional funds for other work outside of just what Thrive does. Outside of that, I will delve right back into the actual economic development portion of this, but I always want you guys to have an understanding of how we leverage dollars and what else we do to try and impact the work that we do for you and the community. So as you guys all know, job opportunities exist in Allen County, but the labor pool falls short of meeting employer demand. Additionally, while some skills, training, and post-secondary options exist in the county, the region lacks a cohesive workforce development ecosystem. And challenges exist when attempting to balance community priorities with regional economic development efforts. So areas of focus for us as we move forward and that we see in our community include building a coalition of employers, higher education, training providers, K through 12, wraparound service providers, and economic development professionals, and using this coalition to continually assess employer needs and the labor market and evaluate employment measures. We also want to, based on employer needs and skill gaps, we want to identify training and programs to address those needs, and so we are continually meeting with our local industries and our community college and our high schools, actually, on those in all of those areas. We want to leverage a variety of training and education methods, including dual enrollment programs, apprenticeships, traditional classroom courses, internships, mentorship programs, and more. We are currently working with Allen Community College on this, and we want to create a robust and outreach and recruitment effort to make people aware of local employers, job availability, training and education opportunities connected to these jobs and potential earnings and career advancement. We really want to make sure people understand all the opportunities in our community. We also want to ensure that individuals are connected to the training and resources they need to be successful, so whether that be housing, tuition assistance, transportation, mental health, counseling, and our care coordination team at Thrive is adept at working with individuals to ensure that they are connected to all of these resources. We always call them our front line. We also will continue to apply for federal and state grants to support and expand our workforce development ecosystem. We will continue to determine priorities for economic development annually, build and budget for a standard incentive program to support business recruitment and expansion, develop a sustainable budget for countywide economic development, and identify sources of funding to support that annual budget. We always look outside of the current funding structure that we have to see if there are other dollars available to come in to support our work. Recently, we went after some grant funds that we did not receive that would have helped us work with small businesses, also would have helped us have an individual to focus in on housing. We were given some really good feedback about those grants, and so when that opportunity comes up again, we will be going after that again. So I just want you guys aware that we are always looking for other ways to address the needs in our community. I also wanted to highlight in this graph to show we have the $117,000 in Allen County that we have for economic development, and I think it's always good to look at what our neighbors are doing as well, or other communities that are somewhat similar in size and scope to Allen County. So if you look at Bourbon County, and don't tell my eye doctor that I'm doing this. So they are at 230,000, and so we are starting to creep up on them. And then in Chanute, they're at the 280. I'm going to have Corey start reading these out to me. And then Great Bend is 600,000, and then Labette County at 600 as well, and then Pittsburgh, which I just put on there as the largest entity in southeast Kansas, so you guys get a feel for where we stand. And this is where I also want to give a huge thank you to all of you on this council from last year, and to Matt and Corey. You guys stepped up for us in raising the bar on putting in more funding for economic development. It helps immensely. It's really hard to recruit into this field. It's really hard to do a lot of this work, and so you guys seeing the value means a lot to us, and it really allows us to do more for you with that funding. So thank you guys so much for that. Next is workforce development. One of the most glaring challenges, as I kind of mentioned already, is facing Allen County employers is the lack of workers for many jobs. Nearly all the county's businesses and industries struggled in 2023 to hire enough workers to keep up with the product demand, despite employment rates hovering between 2 and 3.5%. The problem is not unique to us or to Southeast Kansas, and we believe that the communities who find a way to address it will succeed, meaning all area stakeholders must be proactive and creative in our efforts. And Thrive has met consistently with local industry leaders to better understand their challenges and connected them to state and regional resources, and we will continue to work with local industrial leaders as well as state officials to ensure that our industries have the workforce and resources they need to be successful. Further on in the report, I talk about the airport. I think the big thing I'll highlight here is we were able to get an almost $3 million grant for Allen County out of BASE, which was a Building a Stronger Economy opportunity, and that is to create infrastructure at the airport. They are partnering with you to create the sewer infrastructure, and the bids did go out for that, so we are in that process now to keep moving us forward in that grant opportunity. The big thing of this past year, over the past couple of years actually, but the biggest subject that always comes up to us is housing. And so we have seen a lot of progress and potential progress in this area. And the first one I will hit on with you that you are all very aware of is that in November of 2023, the city of Iola announced a partnership with Lakeview Investment Properties to purchase the 16 lots in the Cedar Brook addition with a contingency on the additional 6. And these single-family homes will create a great opportunity for Iola, and they will fill a need we often see when recruiting professionals to our area who are in need of housing. Thrive had worked with a different developer in 2022, trying to secure grant funds to assist with the development of duplexes in the area. That grant was not awarded, and the developer dropped the project. Lakeview will not be relying on grant funding for their project, allowing them to move forward on their own timeline and without certain criteria in place that grants often require, such as income requirements. On August 17th, construction began at the Arkhaven Nursing Home. Shane Lamb began the first phase of converting the old nursing home into apartments, which includes the 2 apartment buildings that will create 6 units per building. And these units are slated, I put in here February 2024. Well, let's move that to March of 2024. The second phase of the project will be the larger building, which could include 42 apartments, which Mr. Lamb forecasts to be completed by December of 2024. Altogether, the project could create over 50 apartments. Mr. Lamb originally was also looking into grant funds for this project, but ultimately he also decided to use his own funding to start the project and not have it continue to hang in limbo. BNIM is an architectural firm that is working with the Iola School Board to convert the 3 elementary schools, Jefferson, McKinley, and Lincoln, into housing. This creative placemaking project, as we like to call it, would be one of the first of its kind in a rural Kansas community. BNIM's bid for low-income tax credits, or LIHTC, as we refer to it, which will make the project feasible, was ultimately denied last May, but it should be stated that almost all applicants are denied in their first attempt at LIHTC funding. Thrive has been working closely with BNIM to ensure their 2024 application is successful. This includes bringing on new partnerships and funding to strengthen their application, as well as working with them to find additional ways to score higher for their applications, such as adding standalone housing behind McKinley. BNIM plans to have a mix of units available, including low-income, moderate-income, and senior living. The 2 projects of Arkhaven and BNIM will add more than 100 housing units to Iola's current stock. And Iola Industries has also agreed to gift its lot south of G&W Foods to a local development duo who will construct housing on the property, and that construction is slated to begin in spring of 2024. I might also add that since we wrote this report, BNIM has found out they moved to the next round of their LIHTC funding. So they are continuing through that process successfully so far, and I'm feeling pretty positive about it this go-round. Next on the list is, I hope I didn't just jinx this, next on the list is childcare, which is the second kind of big issue that gets brought up in all of our workforce conversations and our quality of life conversations. And in 2023, Iola faced losing one of its child care centers, Kids Kingdom, as owner Mona Hole had searched for someone to take over the business for years with little serious interest or success. And Candy Rushing, who was the owner of the very successful Grow at Eden Child Care Center in Parsons, happened to be interested in expanding, and the opportunity and the timing were serendipitous. Candy was able to purchase the business, and Grow at Eden Iola was born. It officially opened its doors in August, ensuring Iola did not lose the 40-plus child care slots in our community. As of February 1st of this year, of 2024, Grow at Eden is fully staffed and building partnerships with local large employers. This past year, Thrive also created the Allen County Child Care Task Force to address the varying needs around child care that Allen County residents, employers, and providers are facing. ACCT consists of child care centers, providers, superintendents, and staff of all the districts in Allen County, elected officials, Thrive staff, and more. The task put on a child care appreciation event in June to thank providers for their work, because it is an often thankless job. And in the summer of 2023, the group agreed to go after a $45,000 grant that would allow for USD 256, which is Marmaton Valley, to hire an architect to create plans for them to add a child care center onto their building. The group had 3 entities, 3 entries, one by each of our school districts into the Kansas Children's Cabinet Grant for construction only costs to create a multi-purpose community center that includes childcare. And USD 258, which is Humboldt, was one of 10 chosen across the state at an award level of just under $5 million for their project to create the Cubs Community Care Center, which will include a new 11,400 square foot facility at the current athletic and community complex. And this facility will include 24 child care slots focused on infant and toddler care, an apprenticeship program for early childhood, On-site career counselors will assist job seekers with job readiness, application support, and interview preparation, and the facility will house an integrated system of care for people from birth through through adulthood, including primary and mental health care, as well as a pharmacy. Thrive will continue to work with USD 256 and USD 257 to find opportunities to bring their child care centers to fruition to better serve Allen County's child care needs. The ACCT meets monthly, if any of you are interested, to share needs and opportunities surrounding childcare, and I fully believe that that group meeting as often as it does and sharing out this kind of information is what made one of those entries successful as they move forward through that progress. And this group is very collaborative, and I'm just very proud of the work that they have been doing, so I want to highlight that as well. 2023 saw a number of small businesses opened, both in Humboldt and Iola, and as we are in Iola, that's where I will focus. Iola residents saw the addition of a breadery, with Dairy Berry Breadery opening in April, providing baked goods as well as growing their menu to include pizza and other items. Dairy Berry's also offers nightlife on the square by hosting weekly karaoke nights and open mic nights. Oh, guys. Rookies suffered a major setback this August when there was a fire in their downtown location. Luckily, they were in the process of getting their new space up and running on the north end of State Street, and by October, they were opened in time for Farm City Days. Thrive continues actively looking for grant opportunities to assist rookies in getting their downtown location repaired from that fire. Jock Snitch had a revival of their building on the downtown Iola Square. They took off the old aluminum to find beautiful brick underneath. They created 2 entrances to allow for April Krinke's Photography to have their own space, and the photography studio also has space in the remodeled upstairs of the building, showing again that these old buildings are multifunctional and full of potential. Yes. In April, Iola added a gymnastics studio with 620 Athletics opening right off the square in the old Copy Products building. I would say another innovative design of using an old space. 620 Athletics had worked with Thrive and the Small Business Development Center for more than a year to ensure they had the correct location and business plan for a successful studio. Allen County youth now have another option for recreation and skill building without having to travel to surrounding counties as they had to do before. Audacious Boutique is another that I want to highlight tonight, as they switched hands at the end of 2023, showing what a successful succession plan can look like. Allen County has lost many small businesses due to a lack of proper succession planning, and we were thrilled to see the successful handoff of this prominent business after years of mentoring. We hope other business owners will consider this model to ensure their business continues once they are ready to retire or move on to other ventures. Now on to business and workforce support. New and existing businesses in Allen County enjoy several resources to help them grow, some of which incubate at Thrive. These include the Kansas Small Business Development Center, which I mentioned earlier, and Southeast Kansas Works, which is a workforce organization underneath the Kansas Works umbrella. The KSBDC has a representative in Iola several times a month to assist new businesses with performa plans, marketing plans, budgets, and more. Southeast Kansas Works assists businesses and job seekers in finding opportunities that best fit their needs. The organization also offers programs for on-the-job training, placemaking for people recently released from prison, and other additional trainings. Allen County businesses also have access to eCommunities, a funding organization and business consulting group made up of volunteers from Iola and Humboldt. eCommunities is facilitated by staff from Network Kansas and exists to provide existing business owners and entrepreneurs with low-interest loans, financial literacy, and business strategy. So it's well understood that most of the economic growth in a community comes from existing businesses, and that's why an active business retention and expansion program is so critical to what we do. One of these business expansions that is currently taking place is Peerless Products, which is in the process of adding an extra line and more equipment to their production. One of their new machines will allow them to create their own thermal department, ensuring they will not need to rely on the thermal department that they currently rely on in Fort Scott, but instead they will be able to streamline their work at the Iola facility. The new line will create 20 to 30 jobs, bringing Peerless to between 85 and 90 employees in 2024. There are hopes for a third line to be added by the end of 2024 that could also bring additional jobs. Thrive has also worked with Prairie Land Partners. We've been in front of you with that project as well over the past couple of years as they look to expand their facility. In 2023, Iola annexed 105 acres into the city, the largest annexation in more than 20 years, to assist Prairie Land in their expansion efforts. 25 acres of this land is being used by Prairie Land to build their new $13 million expansion off of Highway 169 and Oregon Road. The city of Iola, as you guys are well aware, is partnering with Prairie Land through industrial revenue bonds and assistance with the sewer line. Prairie Land broke ground on October 23rd, and their expansion is expected to add 15 to 20 jobs to their business. Rural economic development is really a mixture of economic and community development, or often as we call it, quality of life. Much of Thrive's focus in 2023 was on one very large quality of life project, the creation of Lehigh Portland State Park. Iola Industries had owned the 360-acre property known as Lehigh Portland since 1971. Since their ownership, they had sought ways to create a public space for recreation on the property. In the late 70s, they approached the state of Kansas with the hopes of creating a state fishing lake, but at that time, Lehigh had not reclaimed itself from the excavation and industrial work that had recently occurred there. It did not have the landscape we have come to know so well: trees, a full quarry, fish, and more. So the state declined the offer. And from 1979 to 1982, Iola Industries worked with the city of Iola to see if they would have the capacity to add it into their parks and recreation system. Multiple mayors during that time agreed that Lehigh would be a great asset, but they did not believe the city had the proper capacity to truly bring Lehigh to its full potential. The county was also approached in 2018, but they too declined due to liability and capacity issues. So in 2016, Thrive worked with Iola Industries on creating trails throughout the property with the hopes they would create a tourist destination, bringing people into our small businesses, restaurants, and hotels. More than 14 miles of trails were created in a handful of years, bringing in cyclists and hikers from all over the United States. In 2019, Thrive reached out to state officials to get a meeting to discuss Lehigh's potential. The meetings were moved back to 2020, and then COVID pushed them back further. In 2022, Thrive and Iola Industries began having conversations with the Kansas Department of Wildlife and Parks, or KDWP as I'll refer to them, about the possibility of donating Lehigh Portland to KDWP for it to become a state park. The hope of Iola Industries was that this legacy gift, estimated at about $2 million, would create a recreational space for our community for generations to come, while also creating a tourist attraction that would bring in outside money and enthusiasm for our local economy and businesses. KDWP was excited about the prospect of adding Lehigh, as they stated it would have one of, if not the, clearest lakes in their system. They highly valued the work and funding that went into creating the more than 14 miles of trails as well. And in February of 2023, a bill to create Lehigh Portland State Park was introduced to the Kansas legislature by local Representative Fred Gardner, and later carried onto the floor by Representative Doug Blex, who's from the Elk County area. Hundreds of people across the state, especially in Allen County and southeast Kansas, rallied around this legislation, writing letters of support and calling their legislators. There were 3 hearings, 1 conference committee, and 3 votes, 2 in the House and 1 in the Senate, in the process of passing the legislation. And on April 6th, the legislature approved the creation of Lehigh Portland State Park, and Governor Kelly made it official on signing the bill on April 19th. They also came, Governor Kelly and Lieutenant Governor Toland, to do a ceremonial bill signing in June. And now that Lehigh is officially owned by the state, they have worked on designing a visitor center, created an overall plan that includes placing cabins throughout the property, creating camping sites, additional trails, a boat dock, fishing docks, swim beach, a boardwalk, zip lines, kayaking and paddle boarding docks, an amphitheater, and more. Millions of dollars will most likely go into the creation of Lehigh Portland State Park over the next few years, thanks to the State Park Revitalization and Investment and Notable Tourism Grant, otherwise known as SPRINT, that KDWP received for both Lehigh and a number of other parks in their system. The other thing under quality of life that I'd like to also share with you is that Thrive received a $35,000 Rural Business Development Grant last year that we worked with, it was a USDA grant, and we worked with Atlas Community Studios on a business incubator accelerator feasibility study. And we now have a 100-page feasibility study. You guys are more than welcome to view it. We can print it off and pass it around. And this truly will lead us forward if we find an opportunity to go after grant funds. This will be the data that we can use to do that and bring this incubator and maker space into our community in the future. One of the other things that I also wanted to add onto our economic development report that we haven't before are our community conversations, because they are so integral into how Thrive moves forward with our work. So we engage each of our towns within Allen County through community conversations that we hold annually. This is the best way we learn from our residents on what they want to see for their communities and the surrounding area. And the priorities that rose to the top for almost every community in 2023 were housing and childcare, followed closely by road improvements, especially if you're in our smaller communities. And then other secondary priorities included mental health services, tourism, and small business creation. In 2023, Thrive began facilitating conversations with youth throughout Allen County, with our first conversation being held in March at Allen Community College. Thank you, Josiah, for help on that one. Where we heard students raise priorities on a number of issues, including the need for flexible job opportunities, housing, fewer speed bumps on campus, which has been addressed as I've driven out there many times. Yeah.
For now.
For now, okay. And more recreational activities in the community. In November, our Thrive interns, we have 3 senior interns this year, led our first community conversation at Marmaton Valley High School, where students highlighted needing more recreational activities, more job opportunities, and an updated track for their high school. And it states on here that our interns will also hold conversations in Iola and Humboldt. They did hold a conversation in Iola. It will go on next year's report, but it is our largest community conversation to date, held by our 3 senior interns, because every one of the high school students was invited to attend that. So they had over 300 people in attendance, and they were very energized by that work. Yes, sir.
Let me ask a question here. When they say more recreational activities, identify what?
So this is where it gets
recreational
interesting,
activities?
and I get a little sad. They would like the drive-in back. They would like a skating rink. They would like a bowling alley. All the things that we, at some point, lost an opportunity to save are things that they would like to see come back. Those were all things mentioned. Jared, did I miss anything else?
Arcade.
Oh, arcade, yeah. They really just want ways that get them out of the house, but where they still get to feel like they're active and involved with people. So I think they're hearkening back to my 90s high school days with all the things that we liked to do as well. And so, yeah, so it'd be really great if we could find some ways. So we'll continue to work on that with them to see if we can make some of those dreams come to fruition. Because part of the reason we have these conversations is this is our future. And so many of our young people don't come to our community conversations, which makes sense, I get it. So we need to go to them and ask them, what is it you'd like to see? How can we work with you to make some of this possible? So if we can start working on things now that they would like to see while they're here now, but that also could bring them back in years to come, I would like us doing that. And so we are actively engaged with them now. And they actually have their Humboldt conversation this week. And so that will round out meeting with all the high schools for this year. Did that answer it, Steve?
Yes.
Okay. So as I said, these conversations mark a very important venture for Thrive, having authentic engagement with young people who represent our future, but who rarely show up to our community conversations. And hearing from them allows us to work with them to ensure we're creating a community they want to be a part of now and in the future. So what's ahead for 2024? We've all heard the saying that taxes and death are the only certainties in life, and we like to argue there's a third, and that's that economic development never rests. And I'd actually say community development never rests as well. Success is briefly celebrated, and then it is on to the next project. And so the following projects remain at the forefront of our efforts in 2024. Some of these have already started, while others are in the early planning stages. I'm not going to read all of them, but I'll throw out a few. There's going to be a heavy involvement with us working on the Lehigh-Portland State Park infrastructure build-out, housing, childcare development, industrial site development, business attraction for industrial sites, hardware store, axe throwing range, regional snack food business expansion, ag-related biofuel development, and an assisted living facility are just a few of the things that we have in our sites for this year. And as we wrap up, I would just like to say that Thrive is pleased with the work that we completed in 2023 to make Allen County a healthy, vibrant community for businesses and residents, yet much work remains to be done. Increased funding for economic development by the public and private sector will help us do even more. And again, thank you for that. And it will be critical that Thrive and local stakeholders and community partners continue to work together to pursue new opportunities, build or strengthen relationships, and seek solutions to existing challenges, even when all the parties don't agree. As we've said before, the best recipe for economic success is plenty of persistence and patience with a healthy dose of optimism, and we do truly believe that our best days are ahead. And I stand for any questions that you guys might have. Yeah, Josiah.
So first, going back to the rural business development grant that you got.
Yes.
I would actually be interested in that feasibility study.
Perfect.
Just because of participating in it, and I think that there's, I don't know what it says, but I think there's huge potential there.
There is.
For a lot of people. Second thing with the community conversations, I think that starting to break out into youth and specific demographics is amazing, and really getting to talk to the youth. Is there a conversation about increasing those to other demographics, whether it be race, age, ability?
So we are always trying to figure out how to get more people to the table and get a broader kind of sector of people, because one of the things we found out, and I will say kudos to all of you, because anyone that was on this council last year basically showed up to our Iola community conversation, and that's when it got brought up, whoa, we might have too many council members at this community conversation. We are really good, especially in Iola, at getting leaders involved in our conversations and in our work. And one of the things that we really, really need to work on is how do we get people who don't always have a voice at the table and a seat at the table to feel comfortable and to show up, because we truly need them there. And we have in the past, I will say, this didn't happen in Iola, but it did in one of our smaller communities. We had a small group of people that approached us and said, we're not comfortable speaking publicly on some of the things that we would really like to talk with you about, but could we have a smaller conversation? And so we actually held that at Thrive, had about 12 people from that particular community show up and really bring forth a lot of different issues that they just felt if they shared publicly, that leaders in that community would, I think they just thought there could be repercussions. And again, I really want to highlight that that was not Iola. So we are always looking for ways to better engage, and I am always very open if you guys have ways that we can better engage with the community in all of the areas that you talked about, Josiah.
And then last, in the Lehigh-Portland State Park infrastructure build-out, does that potentially also include, I know it's not technically infrastructure, but lodging, because I'm sure there will be events that happen at the state park that we don't have all the cabins or anything available at the park.
Oh, wait, when you say lodging, you mean outside of the state park?
Outside of the state park
Okay,
also.
so yes, we, interestingly enough, but not surprisingly, have been approached about prospects of different entities wanting to move into the community to be able to provide that because of the state park. I actually had an individual who represents economic development in another community who said, I was trying to get us a hotel, and they don't want me, they want you. So this state park is already opening us up to opportunities that we really weren't as strategically placed for. I don't have any details on that as of right now, but I will say there are opportunities coming forward that we hope will progress over the next year or two. But you are right, Josiah, that I think I'm seeing more of a build out of Airbnbs right now, which was a concern at the Iola community conversation, honestly, was not necessarily apartment Airbnbs, but housing. Like, are we going to turn too many of our houses into Airbnbs because we know we have a desperate need for housing in our community? But we are also looking at just ensuring we have the right quality of hotels to be able to have people. I know we've had industries say currently they can't house their employees in certain areas of southeast Kansas, including in Iola, because they have to have a certain level of hotel that they can keep their employees in. And so that is something that we are also working to address.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? It was a lot of words at you, so.
Yeah.
We are very, very grateful for your partnership. I think, I would think that Jared would, and he has only been here since November, but also agree, it has been so great to work with you guys, and I think there's so many more great things to come, so thank you so much. Thank you.
And I thank Thrive for everything they've done, and appreciate your time today. Thanks, guys. All right, moving on, we're ready to discuss the citywide recycling program. Matt, you taking this?
Yeah, so at your direction, the last meeting, this is another iteration of a potential recycling program. And I won't go through the specifics of it, you all have it right there, and it's all public knowledge now. So the gist of it would be we would maintain the roll-offs that we talked about last meeting, but instead of the city being the hauler, we would send out an RFP and find someone to do it for us. It would be up to the hauler to find a place to take the roll-offs and to find an end destination for the recyclable material. You notice in there we do not have a budget sheet. Corey and I threw out many different scenarios. We couldn't find one that we felt comfortable with giving to you. At best, it was a shot in the dark. Obviously, when you send out an RFP, you don't know what you're going to get back until you get them back. So we felt it was irresponsible to give you a budget so you don't have one in there, and we were very open about that. My private conversations with you, and then also here, is we don't know how much it's going to cost until we get some RFPs back. Now, guess I'll open it up to any kind of discussion. What you have in front of you is as much as staff could come up with. Usually with an RFP, it's just you got to wait until anything comes back. I think I put in there, hesitant at best to recommend doing this. It might not be a bad idea to see what kind of proposals we get back. I'll speak for myself. I'm skeptical if we get anything back. And if we did, I would be leery about what happened in year two, because year one would be a feeling out period, whether the hauler would price it too high, price it too low, and there could be a price swing that could put the kibosh on any kind of program. I wish we had better information for you, but we don't.
So if we do an RFP, do we have to accept one of those that comes forward, or can we
No.
just say?
Nope.
Okay.
You don't have to accept anything, yeah.
No, there's wording in that says we can reject
Yeah.
or take.
I'm fine sending out the RFP, but I'm with Matt on this. I'm really skeptical without knowing the prices.
Yeah.
Matt, just for reference, what does $1 a month added to the, or Roxanne, added to the solid waste raise a year?
2,300? 2,000, 2,342, that's the.
A month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be the last time we checked it, we have 2,342 customers, so every dollar is 2,342.
About 28,000?
I think a year, it's, 27 and change, something like that.
But keep in mind, we just raised
Raised it
Yeah.
three.
$3.
Yeah, I'm just as we talk about these numbers to know what exactly it's, if, as we proceed. Again, I'm kind of skeptical here too, but I'd like to see it, and that's going to help me understand the true cost.
Yeah, actually, let me add one more point. We don't know who we'd send it to either.
Right.
So I guess we've had one person contact Corey kicking the tires in the general area of what this would be. So I guess we know one person that we at least send it to.
I think even the one that was here at the last meeting that Steve brought, we could send it to them as well.
Okay.
I mean, there's a couple different haulers we could send it to, maybe 3 or 4 I can think of that would be able to load the roll-off and haul it.
Containers, we have, a couple of them local.
Right, and, I mean, even Green Environmental, trash service could pick them up if they'd be interested, so, I mean.
I guess my biggest concern is if we're going to pay for the service, I want to make sure they're actually giving us that service and not putting it in a different landfill.
Well, that would be
Yeah, it's in there that it has to go to a bona fide recycling center they just can't pick it up and dump it somewhere.
And that could quite possibly be why you haven't seen anything come through, because there's few and far of those, less and less anymore.
Yeah, we're not anticipating it being local.
The draft I put together, guys, the dates in there, I tried to highlight them because that's kind of a moving target until you guys give us some directions, so.
Could we, as part of the RFP, say that the bid needs to be for like a 3-year span, so then we don't have to worry about an increase in year 2?
We could. Yeah, and we talked about that. We were a little worried about any kind of response if we put a time frame on it. That's not a bad idea, though.
I just think with starting off, that would be a good safety net in a sense.
Again, what kind of conversations, either from the citizens or from us, have been conducted with the county? I really feel like we are getting the brunt of the pressure to create a program when we're just one city out of an entire county.
Corey and I met with Mitch Gardner.
Last week?
Last week. I didn't get a great feeling that the county was going to really move forward with this. I have ideas on how there could be a partnership, but it would be one that's going to cost money, and the county has made it clear that they don't want to incur any more cost. I think this is an idea that, should it move forward and be something that's feasible, we could approach the county and talk about a cost share when it comes to the cost of the roll-offs. That's, $48,000 to buy 4. You can do the math on if we buy 2 and they buy 2. I put in a weekly report and I'm drawing a blank other than that. But again, it's another thing that I'm skeptical of participation from the county. I think we can ask them all we want. It's not something I'm going to bank on.
I really think they've got the same issue. They don't know where it goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, they've got a couple containers out there from what we were told by Mitch is basically clear plastics. The milk jug type thing is basically, that's because there's a gentleman in Humboldt that does it. So, yeah.
And that's a major concern, and that's a huge red flag.
Well, I think this gives us an opportunity to actually get something back that's substantive as far as funds go and what it would cost. And it's diluted down greatly from the $500,000 to $750,000 million we started with. It's a starting point to build upon something small and grow from there if we so choose. So I agree that we need to send out the RFP and then see what it comes back at. At this time, I'll ask, I know we've got some that want to give some input here. I know you did, so please.
If that's the case, what would be your target to have the RFPs? I don't know if there's any big rush.
I'd say put them out there for 90 days. And I agree with Josiah. I like the idea of.
I feel like we have another group that we did a bid for something. It was either a 2-year price or a 3-year price.
Yeah.
Mowing is a couple years.
Yeah.
2 and the 3.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The tree trimming's the same way.
Exactly. State your name and your business.
My business. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hi. Richard Zahn. I am Mr. Peters' constituent over there in Ward 4, and I'd like to discuss, obviously, recycling and a couple other things. But the first issue is that Friday, several of us participated in a high school program established by Dana Doherty. Really innovative program, a lot of fun. We had about 30 Iolans as adult volunteers, and they learned to budget and live within their means. And they had to set priorities, and they had to spend. And they learned that they couldn't do everything. And that just got me thinking about the last couple meetings where this issue has come up. And I know it's emotional. I'm a conservationist. But I just don't think it's a priority given the scope of the issues, you have to deal with. It's a lot of money, and if there's more transparency in a couple years, if technology advances in a couple years, then perhaps that's the time to really address this issue. So I would just encourage you to table this for a couple years and deal with it when you have more information, and I think technology will evolve and advance to where you can make a decision whether you want to do it or not. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? All right. Any other input from council? I think we've given some direction.
Yeah, I think we'll set it out for 90 days, and it's ready to go, so we'll get it out here directly.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Mayor.
All right. We're ready to move on. Thanks, everyone. Dangerous and unsafe structures.
It's the Greg show.
Is this Greg?
We got to open the public hearing.
Yep.
Greg's dangerous stretch.
Just open the hearings one by one.
Yeah. He's climbing the water tower for this, is that right?
Ready?
No, he is not. Somebody can take a camera.
Okay, at this time, we'll move forward with opening the public hearing for the unsafe structure at 116 North 4th. 116 North 4th, anybody here to speak in regards to that property? If not, we'll close the hearing. And Greg?
The house at 116 North 4th is owned by Community Baptist Church. Unfortunately, there's nobody left in charge of that church. The church is actually 124 North 4th. This house is the house to the south of it. I think it was at one time was used as the parsonage. The house, the structure, the
tubs in the front court?
No. That'll be the next one. This one here, if you go by it, the outside of the house doesn't look that bad, but when you go inside it, the floor joists have all collapsed in the center of the house. This house it's a single-story, two-bedroom house built in 1900. The utilities have been off since 2016. If you go inside this house, the animals have dug up through the floor of the house in two places. They're getting inside. Squatters have gotten inside the house. The floor has collapsed. The house is it's just not worth fixing up. The county has it appraised for $59,10. So, 50% of the cost of the repair of the house, it's just not there. So my suggestion to the council is to condemn the house, and I'm asking the council to pass resolution 2024-08 and condemn this house to be.
I'll make a motion to approve 2024-08 for 116 North 4th Street and proceed to condemn the property and order the structure to be demolished and removed.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, moving forward, demo of 306 South Kentucky. Open the hearing for that property. Anybody wish to speak to that? Not hearing anyone, close the hearing. Greg?
This property here is owned by a Christopher Bradley and a Macretia Brown. My understanding from talking to Macretia, they are no longer together. They have separated and they do not want the property anymore. This property is also a single-story house, two-bedroom, built in 1900. The utilities have been off since 2021, the electricity off since 2020. Same issue with this one. The floor joists in the center of this house have collapsed also. This one actually is worse. If you took a look at the pictures that I sent out to Corey that he passed out, I know there's one that's got a picture of me in it. The purpose of that one wasn't that I was in the picture, but if you look at the doorway in the background, the doorway is slanted literally that much in the background. The house is really settled. The county has this one appraised for $2,640 for the structure. Again, there's no way you're going to fix this house for that much. So I come to the council asking you to pass Resolution 2024-09 and have this house condemned.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-09 for 306 South Kentucky and proceed to condemn the property and order the structure to be demolished and removed.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Unsafe structure hearing for 602 East Lincoln. 602 East Lincoln, nobody wishing to speak to that. We'll close the hearing.
This house is owned by Sharon Ord. Unfortunately, Sharon Ord has passed away. This property, it's a two-story structure, 3-bedroom, built in 1900. Now, the first three that went over, it's not a typo. All three of these houses, according to the county, were built in 1900. The utilities have been off at this structure since 2022. I have received numerous complaints about this property for the siding, the shingles coming off. I did get access to this property by a neighbor that had a key to it, that was given permission to me by the sister of Miss Ord. The front door, the house had settled so much that the door won't open, but they sealed it up. The house, if you went by and took a look at the house and you stood across the street, you can see that the house leans. I took a 6-foot string with a weight on the end of it to see how out of plumb the house. You got level and you got plumb. I took a 6-foot string with a weight on the end of it to hold it up at the front edge of the house to see how out of plumb the house was, how much lean it had. In 6 feet, it was 2.5 inches out of plumb. So you figure a 2-story house, you're going to go at least 18 feet. So in 18 feet, you're talking 7.5 inches is how much lean is in that house. The inside of the house, it's got a leak. Hopefully you looked at some of the pictures. There's one of the stairways that shows just how much the house is settled in the middle. Right. The county has it appraised. I'm sorry.
I've got a question for you. Because in the way that we do this, if we do have to be the ones that tear this down, the owner pays for it. As this owner is passed, does it go then against her estate before they can sell the estate?
It goes against the property.
Okay.
It goes against the property. Now, if there is a tax sale in the next year, if somebody buys this on a tax sale, then they would owe the city, well, they would have to pay that portion of it because.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2024-10 for 602 East Lincoln and proceed to condemn the property and order the structure to be demolished and removed.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Unsafe structure hearing for 1014 North Sycamore, 1014 North Sycamore. No one here to speak to regard to that property. We'll now close the hearing.
1014 North Sycamore. This structure is a 2-story house, 2-bedroom, built in 1905. The utilities have been off since September of 2015. It has a big hole in the roof. This one out of the 4 is the one I think could possibly be rebuilt. The county has it only appraised for $2,510. The owner, I've contacted the owner. The owner plans on tearing this one down themselves since I've kind of pushed the issue, so the city may not be paying for this anyway. The owner is Peter Russell, and there also was on the title search, Emprise Bank. Emprise Bank has called me and told me that they have no claims to this at all. It was an old mortgage that they had. So I've had numerous complaints from the neighbors on this one over the years, and I told them as soon as it got bad enough, top of the list, and it is now one of them at the top of the list.
I'll make a motion to approve 2024-11 for 1014 North Sycamore and proceed to condemn the property and order the structure to be demolished and removed.
Second.
Quick
Motion.
question, Greg.
Yep.
If the owner tears it down, can we add another?
We have a house that caught fire down in South Kentucky that, there's a possibility that the owner does not have the money or it does not have insurance to tear the house down, and there's
Okay.
probably, the city's probably going to have to step in.
Okay.
So,
It kind of.
yeah, on that one, it'll be an emergency deal. Like Corey says, I'll just be coming back to the council and saying, I need the council to give me approval to spend the
Okay.
money.
Okay.
Actually, Kim, to answer your question, yes. If any one of the owners does it for us, that's one less one we have to
I
pay
think we did that a couple years
Yeah.
ago. There was a couple owners
Yeah.
stepped up, and we added 2 more to the list. So we have,
It's in the code that if it's an emergency situation, I can just come to the council and ask for approval. I don't have to go through all these steps.
Gotcha.
Yes. Is my list getting smaller?
Yeah, we're almost done, right? By 4 at a time.
I take
yeah.
4 off, I add 3 on, so it's getting smaller. But
Step forward, 2 steps back.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thanks, Greg.
Hey, this next one's Greg, too.
I see that.
All the screen time.
the garage is.
Flammable liquids.
Safety hazard on that. Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay. Something that has come up at the city offices numerous times over and over and over was whether or not you could have propane in the city limits. It's in our code in several different places where you have to be hooked on to city utilities. It is also in a place in our code where if you have a manufactured home or a mobile home park, you could not have a propane tank. And it's in 3 different places where it alludes to that you cannot have propane.
Greg, can I interrupt you real quick, though? Can you explain what this is? I know what it is that you're talking about, but can you explain it for the public that we're not talking about a 5-pound propane tank that we
Yes,
attach
we're
to
not
our
talking
grills?
about the propane tanks on your gas grill. We're talking about the time where if you lived out in the country and you had a big, what is it, a 200-gallon or 100-gallon,
Hank Hill still has a job in
500-gallon
Iola.
propane tank. That's the type we're talking about.
Thank you.
You can't have that. So it's come up numerous times where people had asked, hey, can you have it? And we say, no, you can't have it, you can't have it, you can't have it.
Didn't one of these just blow up in some city too that was in somebody's like kind of basement or buried in their yard? I just saw this, and it caused massive amount of damage for being improperly stored and taken care of.
And the big issue is in a residential area where you have houses very close to one another, you don't want a house having a propane tank and there's a fire, because you don't want a fireman there fighting a fire when you got a propane tank. Plus, and this is more of a Mitch question, is his crew goes out and sniffs for leaks. Well, I think his equipment can pick up natural gas, but I'm not sure if it picks up propane. Is that correct?
We got equipment, flammization unit, we got 3 of them. It will pick up a hydrocarbon, but it's just picking up parts per million in the air. Now, when we switch over to tell you how much gas is there, because natural gas, lower and upper explosive level is 5 to 15, just simple numbers, and it's lighter than air. Propane is 2 to 10, it's heavier in air, so propane is going to drop. So our equipment will not pick it up or read it correctly. So instantly, you're going to get false readings. If my propane tank's leaking going into your house that's got natural gas, you're not going to have an accurate reading. And it's just going to be an unsafe condition because, first off, you're guessing, or we would have to also have equipment that's calibrated every month for propane too, for something that we don't even sell.
It's just cleaning up basically
Mixing
our
too many
ordinance that-
products in one. I mean, we're not really set up for propane. Otherwise, we'd be selling propane.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 3525, adding a flammable liquid storage restriction on residential and commercial uses inside city limits.
I'll second.
And please note that the general provision ordinance, it does clearly state to supply to a residential home or commercial. So I think that delineates any concern that we're not outlawing or banning the
We
barbecue grill.
feel that we were covered on this before. This just
Defines
cleans it up
house and
and
building.
there's
No,
no
I
doubts
totally,
now.
it's more black and white. No, and I appreciate that. I just wanted the public to understand we weren't talking about the propane tank that
And
we
there
put
was-
to our grills.
There was concern from the public on what it meant actually, so thank you for asking
Exactly.
that.
Are there any businesses or homes that currently have these anywhere that we know of that we're going to have to grandfather in?
It states that in the thing,
There
in the
very well
ordinance,
could
I
be.
believe.
And we just don't know about it?
Do I know
Yeah.
for a fact? No.
Yeah, great way to put it. Do we know for a fact? No.
We have
Do we assume there is?
assumptions?
Yes.
Nobody's grandfathered unless the ordinance clearly states that.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
someone does
Legal
have it, they would now
non-conforming
have
is the
to
fancy phrase, yeah.
Not
remove
really
it.
a grandfather status. It's
So is that correct? If someone did have this at their home or business, they would have to remove it?
But not,
if they were to upgrade. We're not going to go force anybody's hand, I don't believe. But if they were to upgrade or change, do a remodel, and we found it, yes.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Steve, you get a vote on this one, don't you? Ordinances.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, technically.
You're right.
All right.
I would like to move the city council recess into executive session for 15 minutes pursuant to personnel matters of non-elected personnel, KSA 75-4319B1. The purpose of the executive session is to discuss an individual employee's employment and shall include the mayor and city council. The regular meeting shall reconvene in the city...
You get Carla involved.
Oh,
Carlos.
I didn't
Carla.
include it, I'm sorry, I didn't know at the time
Way to
when I
go,
wrote
Corey.
that. Sorry, my fault.
retract that, sorry. And shall include the mayor, city council, and Carla, HR manager. The regular meeting shall reconvene in the city council chamber at 7:20 PM.
Second.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Donna, are you going to hang out after the exec? Generally, some more Donna. I love it.
Okay, we are back in session following executive session, and we have some action.
Mayor, I'll move to renew the administrator's contract for 3 years with the discussed terms. I didn't miss the last word.
That's fine.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, thank you. All right, we are ready for,
Thank you, Carla.
thank you. Council and administrator reports. I'll start over here this week. Mark?
I will be gone at the next meeting.
Okay.
So if you have anything really spicy, like zoning for a meat packing plant or school consolidation or increasing property taxes, please have it at that meeting. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually, I'll be gone too, so fire that up. At least one of those we won't have here, yeah, school consolidation, we'll leave that to the USD.
That was at the polls tonight.
That's not fair. Max, anything?
I have some flags to donate to the Historical Society, if anyone knows where I can find the president. The king of the Historical Society.
Queen Donna?
I talked to Curtis about this already. He knows they're coming.
Thank you. You got a what?
Extension, and I've worked all weekend, extension for weeks.
To put him in our records.
Put in the documentation that they accused them, that's easier work.
And then forever and ever, we've got this.
Wow. All right. Thank you so much.
When I have time, I'll write you.
Tell your friends to vote for the new flag.
Oh, wait, where do we do that at?
I'll tell you.
You can go in the newly remodeled utilities office.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Not Wednesday, though.
2 board members.
Yeah.
Anything else, Max?
Vote. City Hall or online. Please vote for a flag.
I did it.
Thank you. John?
Just a friendly reminder, the cemetery is not a dog park, and to pick up after your dogs, that is somebody's final resting place. Their loved ones do not want to be burying a loved one, to be visiting their loved one, and have to walk around your dog's waste. The problem's actually getting worse, is what I've been told, and just respect that site. I would also remind people, literally across the street is a nice new walking trail at the college that goes about a mile, mile and a half. There's also the front 20 at the college as well, which is an open space.
You should still clean up after your animals.
You should still clean up after your animals, but just not on someone's grave is a little disrespectful.
Disgusting.
Oh, and John, I can jump in there. Burke brought it to my attention too. This was brought before you came back on. This was brought to our attention, and a firm but polite worked for a little while, and then it just resorted back to what's going on now. So we will be bringing language to you to discuss banning. Oh, is it animals or dogs? I forgot. It's a very simple phrase. Would be just banning animals altogether in the cemetery. We would not be the first city to do that, I found out, if we do it. But yeah, the firm but polite just worked for a little while, and then it stopped.
But likewise, it's not just a cemetery, but if you're walking your dog out front of my house, you should pick up your dog's waste. Unless you're sending a message to the mayor, but that still doesn't make it all right.
That's different. He hasn't picked up on that yet, okay.
It's not my dog.
But Mayor, piddling is okay.
That's right.
Yeah, that absorbs
When
real
you're
quick
the
in the ground.
recipient
Yeah.
from my dog.
Yes.
All right. Joelle?
Well, congrats on the anniversaries of our employees. 28
Yes.
years for Eric Miller and 22 for Christy are phenomenal. I would also like to mention, I'm sure many people have seen, that one of Iola's finest firefighters is about to embark, or is embarking on one of his most serious battles yet. And I just would like for everyone to keep Eric Beheimer and his family in their thoughts and prayers. He has protected the citizens of Iola for many, many years, fighting battles outside of his home, and now he is fighting one inside of his home. So
I would like to, if I can plug this as well.
Wanna hijack me,
On the
that's fine.
30th of March, the Elks will be doing a fundraising dinner,
Okay.
Which will all be donated to the Beheimer family. It'll be open to the public as well. More details to come.
Okay, perfect.
What is he, almost 30 years with the city, 20-some?
Probably.
32 popped into my head, but I don't.
He's right around that 30-year mark, guys. No, he hasn't been here as long as I have, so it'd be 20.
He started in the 90s.
Yeah, 26, 27.
A long time,
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
and that's all I have.
Kim?
Nothing.
Joel?
Just to reiterate what Joelle said, both about the anniversaries, also to our own Greg Hutton. Hopefully to celebrate 10 years, you do climb the water tower. I'm going to work that in somehow.
You do.
And then Wednesday night, so the rankings just came out, but it's the highest ranking I've ever known in my lifetime. But the Lady Red Devils are ranked 13th in the nation. They are 21-5, I think, on the season. Don't quote that piece on me. Quote that piece, please. But they do play sophomore night is this Wednesday night, 6 p.m. for the women, 8 p.m. for the men, and it's against Labette, and so it should be some good games. And that's it.
Thank you. Corey, anything for us?
Just two things. Our tree trimmer is not going to renew or extend his second year. Increased cost like everything else, so we'll rebid it. He's interested in rebidding it, so I don't think we'll have an issue of getting a tree trimmer for our electric lines, but that'll be coming back to you. I'm getting ready to put the RFP out tomorrow. And the only other thing is the transient vendors. I don't know if that's what I want to call it. We're working on doing some more background on that after it's been brought up, and then we'll have it for a discussion item after I get some more data from other
Perfect,
communities.
and I do appreciate you getting back with me as quickly as you did on that.
We'll see what some of the other communities have and see if there is adjustments we need to make.
Yeah, I mean, I contacted Chanute last fall when it was brought to my attention, and I believe we discussed Yates Center, and I do think that there needs to be some amendments to that ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything, Matt?
Nothing for me.
Roxanne?
Eric has been 25 years.
25, thank you. All right.
Look for those. We did post something on Facebook today on the new bills, so share that as much as you can, please.
All that. Okay.
There will be a paper bill inside. We just know the envelope was the most important thing. That's what we showed everyone.
Okay. Council, can we get a motion to adjourn?
Oh, so moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Thank you. That's what I was waiting on. Motion second, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thanks, everyone.